So I am just over halfway through my playthrough of God of War 2018 on PS5 in preparation for God of War Ragnarok next month, and I had just finished a gameplay encounter, and then I was going to Sindri, which is my next objective in this part in the game, and then there's a scene here where Sindri throws an apple at Kratos, and with straight up no hesitation, Kratos takes out his Leviathan axe and cuts the apple midway through the air. So I thought this was something of a little joke of like, hey, sometimes Kratos can be very much like blunt with Brock and Sindri, and like, because he's focused on the mission and they sometimes want to just talk and everything, and Kratos just doesn't want anything to do with that. He just wants to go on with the upgrades and keep moving on his mission to spread the ashes on the highest peak of all the realms. But there was something about this scene that just stuck in my mind, like, why did Kratos just cut that apple out of nowhere? It just seems kind of just seemed kind of weird to me, right? But then this great Reddit post here gave me a bit of an explanation here that we are going to go into depth here on this video that explains why Kratos cut the apple that Sindri offered him. So what is going on, guys? It is your boy TKD, wanted to hear back in Plays and Source, and let's go over some Greek lore that explains this notion of Kratos cutting the apple that Sindri offered him. Links below in the description to this Reddit post, as well as two articles that I found for research that really do kind of highlight the same notion but two different slants that we'll go over later on in the video. But the Reddit post here is from Zadar Kionas. I think I said that wrong, but down below, hit that link, give him a thumbs up on this Reddit post. Definitely a great Reddit post as well. But here is what he said. Why does Kratos cut the apple thrown at him by Sindri? At some point in the game, Sindri throws an apple at Kratos, who promptly cuts it in half with his axe. According to historians, this was considered a marriage proposal / declaration of love in the history of ancient Greece, and catching the apple is accepting that love. So the backstory of this notion that offering an apple is meant as a bit of a love type of thing, something that you are wanting to profess to this person, comes from the mythological Greek goddess of chaos and strife and discord known as Eris. She became very angry at the fact that she was excluded from the grand wedding of Peleus, son of Asius, king of Aegina, and the sea nymph Titus. They are all well known in mythology as the parents of Achilles, and so of course this was the wedding to be at, right? So Eris decided to throw some of her potential Eris discord into the mix by taking a golden apple with the inscription Callisti, sometimes translated to Callisti, which means for the most beautiful one, and throwing it into the wedding party. Three goddesses in attendance, Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena, all claimed the apple as their own. To resolve this dispute, Paris of Troy was selected to choose the proper recipient. First, he was bribed by both Athena and Hera, and then Aphrodite swayed him with the most beautiful woman in the ancient world, Helen of Sparta. Of course, Paris chose Aphrodite as a recipient of the apple. The apple thereafter was considered sacred to Aphrodite, and to throw an apple at someone was symbolic as a declaration of love. Also, to cast the thrown apple was a sign of your acceptance of that love. This is more so underlined here with a quote here from Plato. He says, quote, "I throw the apple at you, and if you are willing to love me, take it and share your girlhood with me. But if your thoughts are what I pray they are not, even then take it and consider how short-lived is beauty." But digging more into this myth, I did find that there are some scholars that disagree with this notion that it's a marriage proposal, and it has more of a sexual slant to it in a lust type of manner. So the other article is down below in the description, but it details that love as in marriage or purely romantic was the wrong interpretation, as it actually meant love as a form of seduction or sex. It says here, quote, "The reason why throwing apples was considered a ploy at seduction was because apples were regarded as sacred to Aphrodite, the ancient Greek goddess of lust, sex, and sexual desire. There are numerous myths involving Aphrodite and apples as well. One of those stories involves Princess Atalanta and how her father wanted her to be married even though she had no desire to be married in the first place. This resulted in her laying out terms to her father that if a man can beat her in a foot race, she would marry him. However, if they are unsuccessful in the race, their head will be cut off. Her father agreed, thinking no man would lose, but one after one, men took on the challenge but kept losing and being beheaded and killed. That is, until Hippomenes rose to the occasion, as he greatly desired Atalanta. So he sought out goddess Aphrodite through prayer. Aphrodite brought him golden apples and told him to toss them on the ground during the race. In doing so, this caused Atalanta to chase the apples instead of remaining focused on the race, thus permitting Hippomenes as the victor of the race. So this is a kind of like story where Atalanta was kind of swayed off of focus from the race because of her desire for the apples. And there's this whole thing and this whole commentary where the Greek world were thinking that women were kind of, that that like, oh look, shiny thing, oh look, golden apple, and they'll chase after it. That's what like the myth is also telling as well. So a little bit outdated for the times for sure, but that is kind of where this is all coming from, that they have this explanation where the golden apple doesn't necessarily mean marriage or like love in a romantic way. It could also mean in a lustful way because of its connection with Aphrodite. So in conclusion, what's really going on here in this scene is that Kratos isn't just being like, the big brooding, like, oh, I'm focused on the occasion, I'm focused on our mission, right? What Kratos is actually doing as well is that he is rejecting the apple based off of not wanting to accept the love of Sindri based off of his Greek heritage and what it means to be offered an apple, being a notion of love, marriage, or in some cases, you may dispute this, and scholars definitely, dispute this in a sexual manner, in a lustful manner as well. So based off of Sindri's reaction in just calling it a waste of an apple, I really doubt that he meant that gesture in the Greek way of looking at it, but it is pretty neat to note that Atreus accepts the apple that Sindri offers him later on in the cutscene. So this definitely makes sense because he himself doesn't know the Greek ways of looking at it because, at this point in the game, Atreus has no idea that he is part God and part Greek as well, right? But it is his nature to help others and express love throughout the early hours of God of War 2018 that we definitely see, and we see how it all fits into, hey, Atreus would definitely accept that apple even if he knew that it meant in a way of respect, love, etc. So yeah, overall, I thought that was a really cool way to kind of show a little bit of Kratos' like Greek knowledge and Greek heritage in a very, very subtle way that I think blew over a lot of people's minds, I'm sure, right? But I'm sure those scholars that definitely know Greek mythology and know all of this stuff definitely got a kick out of that as well. But down below, what do you guys think down below? Did you guys also get that weird vibe when you first saw Kratos cut that apple? Did you think it was a little bit unnecessary? What are your thoughts down below in that comment section? And also, while you are down there, make sure you do not miss our description. You can find links to everything that we talked about here on the video, as well as our Twitter, our Discord, and of course our anchor link that you can listen to our long form content and podcast format. Those of course being Road to Ragnarok, our next Road to installment. We are 2 episodes in the can. Let me go check those out on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, etc. via the anchor link down below in the description. We are definitely gearing up for plenty of more coverage here for Ragnarok, and we cannot wait to do it. I'm doing it with my boy Mr. Kyle Stevenson as well at PS Trophy Room. Let me go check out that podcast if you haven't done so already, and like if you enjoyed it as well, hit subscribe to the PlayStation Source to keep up with the latest and greatest in PlayStation. Thank you all for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.